Studies at the New Zealand Institute of Bioeconomic Research and an adjunct professor at Lincoln University. He is the regional champion for the Pacific Islands in the Global Research Collaboration Initiative UFRESCO 3 and is currently examining the plant health biosecurity networks in the Pacific. He has broad experience in plant protection, plant biosecurity, and biodiversity, and has represented New Zealand at several international fora. So take it away, Dr. Teulon.
Thank you, Franny. Yeah, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever we are. Thank you very much to the organisers for letting me talk at the conference here. I was online most of yesterday, but today, unfortunately, I'm visiting University of the South Pacific and have to come in and out. So I'm looking forward to those recordings of everything. So I'm going to be talking about an island-centric biosecurity network for high-risk invasive plant pests in the Pacific. This is slightly different than the focus that we've been having on CRB, but hopefully you'll see why I'd like to talk to you today. I have a number of co-authors, Nicola, Ritan, Roland, Charles, and Layla, and some of them are online at all as well. So I'm talking about this island-centric biosecurity network for high-risk invasive plant pests in the Pacific. I'm going to be talking about this in general, but hopefully there'll be some application for the coconut rhinoceros beetle. So in terms of the rationale, invasive species are increasing due for a number of reasons. Expenditure on their mitigation has declined in various places, and capabilities and resources can't always be found in a single country or region. So combining resources is one way to overcome this. And of course, the Pacific has unique challenges with regard to invasive species. The work that I'm working on, the project that I'm working on is, the objectives are for recommendations on the feasibility of an effectiveness of an island-centric biosecurity network for high-risk invasive plant pest pathogens and weeds. Specifically looking at the current status of those networks, the strength of those networks, and any gaps that we identify doing that. Which is funded out of the US DoD. We have a number of stakeholders in the project: the Pacific Community, SPREP, Island Conservation, B3 New Zealand. My internet connection is unstable, my computer's telling me, so let me know if you can't hear me. DAF in Australia, Botanical Gardens Conservation International, and the Micronesian Regional Invasive Species Council. We are also, more recently, we've been working more closely with the US Department of the Interior, and I was intending to be present at the biosecurity workshops in CNMI and American Samoa, but both of these have been postponed for different reasons. Basically, we have a desktop exercise with a couple of ground truth visits at regional sites. And I guess the question is, can we use the coconut rhinoceros beetle as a case study looking at some of these networks? The project is quite small and is running for about a period of just over a year. As part of the project, we'll be undertaking a number of regional visits, and we have divided the Pacific up in such a way to do that. There was an intended visit to Guam, Palau, and CNMI earlier in the year, although this visit should be happening in December. And we've chosen that area because of the large US military center in Guam and some of the associated activities in that area. We'll also have visits to the Eastern Pacific, Hawaii, and again, associated with the US military activity there. And that visit should be going on January, February next year. And we're also working in the Central Pacific, Fiji/Samoa, American Samoa, because of the interactions with SPC and SPREC. And that's where I'm at the moment, undertaking those visits right now. So what are we looking at? We're looking at various plant health/biosecurity networks that exist in the Pacific and elsewhere. For example, we'll be looking at networks that are associated with identification of risk, diagnostic networks, surveillance networks, real-time information sharing networks, and networks associated with drawing communities together. We'll also be looking at any new innovations in terms of plant health biosecurity networks that are being developed at the moment. And there's a couple of them there on the right-hand side of the slide. The scale of the work is local, national, regional, and global, although the focus will be on regional for the Pacific. And we'll be looking at military, government, and community networks, but the funding does come from the US Department of Defense, and so we will be looking at aspects associated with that will help the military mitigate invasive species actions. And of course, there's planned and actual networks. We'll be looking at those to work out which ones can be taken forward or not. So just a couple of examples of networks. Here's one of the major networks in the Pacific, and that's the Pacific Community. Focus on head office, the Land Resources Division in Suva, Fiji, but having networks throughout the Pacific, covering most of the Pacific, and also the metros, or whatever they call them, outside. So Australia, New Zealand, France, the UK, and the US. Of course, there's a very similar network through SPREP, based in Samoa, again covering most of those countries, but having a slightly different focus than SPC. And of course, those two organizations work reasonably closely together in terms of some of the overlaps with invasive species. Here's an example of a much smaller network, and one of the ones that were highlighted in our proposal going forward, the Micronesian Regional Invasive Species Council. And you can see up on the left of the slide, just dealing with a much smaller part of the Pacific. Another Pacific network, which has relevance to CRB, with their focus on coconut, is the Pacifica Nui Net, and they will be speaking, I think, tomorrow, I'm not sure, but they also have their own fairly extensive network in the Pacific with a focus on coconuts. And then there is the networks of the presenters at this particular meeting, and I applaud the organizers of this meeting, to bring all these people together from, I think, 19 or 20 different countries or territories to talk about CRB. Fantastic, a fantastic opportunity to bring people together. I put this slide in really just to highlight the complexities of networks. So this is the New Zealand CRB response program, which largely works with Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, and Vanuatu. But in those countries, the networks include a number of different organizations. But outside of those countries includes networks from other programs and agencies throughout the Pacific. So while some of these networks appear to be reasonably simple on the surface, they really, when you dig down into them, they're a lot more complex. I put this slide in because this is evaluation of the New Zealand CRB response program. Makes quite interesting reading for the first part of that program. And as I read the program, I went through it and started looking at the different recommendations that relate to networks. And all the way through those recommendations, we find recommendations that bring out the need for greater networking across the Pacific in terms of the CRB programs. So, yeah. So the question I have in my mind is whether doing a greater study of the potential networks within the CRB programs might be worthwhile to indicate gaps in current activity and how we move forward with that. So this is actually my last slide, so I'm hopefully catching up a little bit. Really, I'm just introducing a program that's ongoing and that I would appreciate feedback on. And I put a couple of questions down here that I may come back to you with. I'll better talk to the organisers about this, but I would be appreciative if I could send out a small survey to the larger number of people in the audience here with some questions like this. What are the most effective Pacific networks, both generally and for CRB? Are there networks that could be extended into the Pacific from, say, North America or Europe or even parts of Africa or other parts of the world? What networks are completely missing that need that need developing? So what are the gaps? And are there special characteristics needed for Pacific networks to develop an island-centric biosecurity network? So I think that's me. Short and sweet. Hopefully on time. Back to you, Franny.